Hi, guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Heather, and this is the spot where we break down everything you need to know about writing compelling stories, building unforgettable worlds, and creating characters readers love. Today's video is all about romantasy, that magical blend of romance and fantasy. Whether you've been plotting out your own epic love story set in a fantastical world, or you're curious about writing one, stay tuned. I'm going to walk you through how to create an enchanting, swoon-worthy romantasy that readers won't be able to put down. So, what exactly is romantasy? Simply put, it's the intersection of romance and fantasy. You've got the intense emotional focus of a romance novel, but set against the backdrop of a richly imagined magical world. The best part, you can have dragons, witches, kingdoms in peril, and a love story that's as captivating as the adventure. Let's talk about how to build these stories step by step. So, we have five different things. The first, immersive world building, complex characters with growth, a gripping emotional romance, high stakes and conflict, and magical or supernatural elements. So, first, step one, world building, creating a fantastical backdrop. In Romantasy, your fantasy world is just as important as the romance. You need to build a setting that feels immersive, detailed, and magical, because your readers are here for both the love story and the escape into a new world. Whether it's a medieval kingdom with castles and dragons, or a modern world where magic lurks in the shadows, the world you create should feel alive and real. So, world building elements to consider. Magic systems. How does magic work in your world and who controls it? Political structures. Are there kingdoms, empires, or magical councils? History and lore. What past events shaped the world your characters live in? Creatures and species. Are there dragons, fae, or entirely new creatures? Geography and settings. Mythical forests, towering cities, or enchanted islands. Just remember, when it comes to world building, develop everything through the lens of your character. We don't need to know the entire world, but we do need to know how it affects your protagonist. Remember, your world should shape the plot and the romance. Maybe the characters come from rival magical kingdoms, or perhaps the magic in this world comes at a cost that impacts the relationship. The setting could feel like a living part of the story, not just a backdrop. Step two, the characters, creating complex, relatable heroes. Next, let's dive into the characters. In Romantasy, your character should feel epic yet relatable. They need to have both emotional depth and compelling arcs. Your hero and heroine should your hero and heroine, or whoever is at the center of the romance, should be flawed, complex, and capable of growth. So here are a couple of tips for character development. Flawed but likable. Readers need to connect with their vulnerabilities. Ambition and goals. Both characters should have personal stakes in the fantasy plot. Emotional strength. Show their resilience in both love and conflict. And dynamic growth. How do they evolve as individuals and as a couple? A good romantasy hero isn't just a knight in shining armor. Maybe he's a brooding sorcerer who's I guess rippling and grappling. I don't know. But with duty and love. The hero or with dark para I'm just all over the place. I swear, babe. Okay. Maybe he's a brooding sorcerer who's grappling with dark powers, or a warrior princess torn between duty and love. The heroine might be just as powerful, or perhaps she's someone who discovers hidden strength as the story unfolds. Remember, she does not have to be a strong, independent woman who don't need no man. Romance. We want the men. The key is to create characters who are equal partners in both the romance and the adventure. Step three, the romance itself. So let's talk about it. At its heart, Romantasy needs a love story that's just as epic and as intense as the fantasy plot. You need to build romantic tension in a way that complements the adventure and magical elements of the story. So here are a few tips to do just that. A slow burn romance, my favorite. Let the attraction simmer over time, building anticipation. Another favorite, enemies to lovers. Are they on opposite sides of the war, magical divide? Ah, another favorite, forbidden love. Maybe I'm just wanting all of my romantasies to be everything I want to read. Are there laws, curses, or societal rules keeping them apart? And then the fourth thing, fated love. Are they bound by a prophecy or destiny that ties them together? In a romantasy, the love story should have the same high stakes as the rest of the plot. Maybe they're fighting to save the kingdom or break a curse, but they're also fighting for each other. Readers want to see a deep emotional connection between your characters, whether they're locked in a passionate love hate relationship or coming to trust each other through a shared quest. Step 4, your conflict. This is where it gets good. Okay, conflict is what keeps your readers hooked. And in Romantasy, it comes from both the external fantasy world and the internal romantic dynamic. Your character should be facing challenges that test their love as much as they test their strength. So, what are some kind of types of conflict in fantasy? In Romantasy? Come on, Heather, let's get it together. External conflict, a war, a prophecy, or a magical threat that impacts their love. Internal conflict, emotional wounds, fear of vulnerability, or trust issues. Magical obstacles, curses, magical battles, or supernatural forces pulling them apart. It could even be struggling with their own magic. Moral dilemmas, choices that pit personal desires against greater responsibilities. And again, this can tie into that forbidden love. You can use a lot of these elements together to really, really hit home. So, one of the best things about Romantasy is that you can make the fantasy conflict and the romantic conflict intertwine. Maybe they're fated to destroy each other, or maybe the hero's magical powers put the heroine in danger. Whatever the conflict is, it should raise the stakes in both the adventure and the romance, making readers wonder if love will really conquer all. And this will keep your plot driving forward as well as develop that character arc simultaneously. So, let's talk about magic now. This is, after all, fantasy, and magic or supernatural elements should play a key role in your story. The trick is to make sure the magic isn't just window dressing, but something that impacts both the plot and the romance, and especially the characters. The character should always come first. So, using magic in Romantasy. So, magic systems with consequences. Consequences is the most important part of that. Magic should have limits or a price, which add tension. Quests or challenges involving magic. Maybe they need to retrieve a magical artifact or break a curse. Magical creatures or beings like dragon, fae, shadowy creatures that could be allies or threats. Romantic ties to magic. Maybe one character is cursed or their magic is tied to their emotions. And that's what I like to do in my paranormal fantasy, even urban fantasy stuff. Incorporating magic into the romance makes it feel more intense. For example, what if using magic drains the hero's life force, putting the heroine in a position where she might lose him if he does save the world? Or maybe the heroine has forbidden powers that make her a target. The magic should heighten both the stakes and the emotional intensity. So, your resolution. Let's talk about creating a satisfying, epic ending. Most romantasy novels lead to a happily ever after, or at least a happy for now. But it's important that your characters earn that resolution. After all the emotional and magical turmoil you've put them through, readers want to see a satisfying conclusion. So here are some ideas for that. Your victory over the external threat. This is kind of a given, but the kingdom is saved or the curse is broken. The goal is essentially met. Your emotional resolution. Both characters have grown and are ready to commit to each other. A sacrifice and reward. Maybe one character makes a major sacrifice for love, but it leads to a greater reward. A new beginning. They're ready to embark on a new life together, whether it's ruling a kingdom or exploring a magical world. The ending should feel epic and emotional. Your characters have faced incredible odds, both in their love and in their world around them. And now they've earned their happiness, whether that means they end up ruling side by side or finally breaking the curse that kept them apart. Make sure the readers feel that all the tension and conflict has paid off. And if this is something that you're really, really interested in, but you have no idea where to start, I got you. I have a bunch of different templates, whether you're doing an enemies to lovers romantasy, a romantasy by itself, or a trilogy romantasy, all down linked below. And I also have a world building packet as well if you really need help trying to figure out how you can create this fantasy world. So there you have it. That's how you write a romantasy that keeps readers hooked from start to finish. What's your favorite part of writing or reading romantasy? Is it the epic love story, the magical world, or the mix of both? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And please don't forget to hit like if you found today's video helpful. And of course, subscribe for more writing tips, tricks, and inspiration. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and hanging out with him. Happy writing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.